Vishvapani Blomfield, and thank you so much for joining me for this session in my series Beyond Breathing. And in today's practice, we're going to be connecting with the natural world and doing that through meditation. So I think the natural world and our experience of being in nature is so important for so many of us. It's really great to hear from you about your experience of that. So please use the chat to share what helps you connect with nature. So I'm going to tell a story about some teaching that I was doing a little while ago at a place called Alfoxden, which was William Wordsworth's house once upon a time ago. William Wordsworth was a very famous poet living a couple of hundred years ago. And he had his own meditation method that he used as a way to produce his poetry. And the method was, firstly, he'd go out into nature on his own. He'd just observe. He didn't take a notebook. He didn't do anything like that. He just took it all in and he sensed it. And then later on, a day or two later, he'd bring that experience to mind, and the emotion that was associated with it would be the thing that would stimulate his poetry. In a poem called Lines Composed Above Tintern Abbey, he talks about sensations sweet, felt in the blood and all along the heart. So I was doing this in the grounds of this big place in southern England. And what happened was I went into the woods and a whole herd of deer appeared, just wandering wild. It's really happened. They wandered through the woods, maybe 100 yards away from me. And then I thought, well, I'll try the meditation that he talked about. So I closed my eyes and I could just hear the deer amid all the other sounds of nature. And eyes closed, once the deer had disappeared, I remembered the image of the deer. And then it was as if the image came alive, as if these deer were really there in my mind, and I was touching them. I was in connection with them. And that was a really strong experience, even though I was just imagining the deer. It was lovely to see them, but imagining them was just as strong. And that's the kind of thing we're going to be playing with in the practice today. So thank you so much for sharing your own experiences of connecting with nature. So people have shared various things. Gardening. I love gardening, getting your hands dirty. Watching the sunrise. Feeding the birds, yes. Climbing trees and hiking in the park. Walking barefoot on grass or on a sandy beach. Stargazing. Yeah, that's so evocative, isn't it? It's so lovely to hear your experiences. So it's great to do those things. There's an image in each of those experiences, and there's a feeling as well. So let's take that feeling into the practice. We're going to be imagining nature. It's not the same as going for a walk, but there's maybe another dimension. So let's start by settling ourselves, just establishing our posture. So the greatest connection with nature that we have is the body. The fact that we are embodied beings. Really, we're part of nature. We tend to abstract ourselves by identifying solely with our thoughts. But when we feel the body, we can just sense that we're natural beings. We're made of flesh and blood and bone. The heart beats, the blood pumps in its continual rhythm. So with rhythmic beings, we breathe. We breathe in, we breathe out. And that's another cycle, another rhythm. So let's just feel the body resting on the floor. And sensing the contact, not thinking about the floor, our legs, or the body, just feeling it, sensing it. At the feet, at the knees, the bottom, we feel where the body is drawn towards the earth, drawn towards the center of the earth by gravity. Earth to earth. Feeling or sensing the earth beneath us, the ground beneath the building in which we sit, the soil, the rocks, the planet. Feeling the whole height of the body, rising up, the chest be open. Soft eyes, soft face. And just let go all of those thoughts which are asking us to be somewhere else, doing something else, spending time just being here, now. And thoughts will keep calling to us, bringing ourselves back, soothing the mind, soothing the body. Just feeling the breath in the nostrils and the chest and the belly. So giving ourselves some space, giving ourselves permission to just be here. We don't need to figure out where we should be, what we'll do next, the meaning of life. Don't need to do any of those things. It's enough to just be here. Experiencing space, calm. So now I invite you to bring to mind the experience of being in nature. Just let an image come to your mind. And often the first image we think of is the one to go with. You don't have to have the perfect image or the perfect scene. It could be something recent. It could be something particularly special. And it might be that your mind's eye can see the scene you're in. Not everyone has that sort of visual memory. So it's enough to have the feeling of being there. So remembering the scene, the colours, the shapes, what was happening. Seeing it. What about the sounds? Maybe we remember them, or maybe we can imagine the sounds. The sounds of being in this natural scene. Was there bird song or the sound of the wind? Rustling leaves? Sound of one's own breath? So breathing, letting the sounds and the images be vivid. So, what about smells? When we're in the countryside, this is often a very important part of the experience. The smell of grass, of earth, of air. So as we recall this scene, or as we imagine it, bringing to mind smells. Was there any taste? Perhaps not, but perhaps there was. And what we touched. Feeling that, sensing it. So letting this scene be vivid in all its dimensions. Staying with the image, as if the image is settled in our heart, or that our heart is an open space of imagination where we experience this scene. So as we bring this to mind, feeling the body in this moment. And noticing or sensing the feelings, the emotions that go with this memory, this scene that we're rekindling in our imagination. Feeling it. Breathing into it. Where in the body does that feeling express itself? The feeling that goes with the experience of nature. In the heart, in the belly, in the blood. Breathing with it. Settling into that feeling, or the area of the body where the feeling resides. Breathing into that area. Perhaps the image remains. and sensing the connection with nature this image brings, its power, its reverberations. And then gradually letting the image fade. Feeling the body. Feeling that we're here, now. And introducing a little movement. Just going to take a really gentle, slow transition. Maybe taking a deeper breath. So we'll be making a transition from stillness to a little bit of movement, but also taking our time to absorb that experience, gradually letting it go, gradually making a transition. And then moving in whatever way is right for you. When you're ready, opening your eyes. So, I hope that was a vivid image, a vivid experience for you. There's a comment from the chat. Strange to smell wet dirt in my imagination. When I said the word soil. So just that word, soil. And the comment that you've made is the mind is a powerful creator. So next person says, my image was the ocean, strong waves knocking me about, loud crashing onto the shore, seagulls squawking, the smell of the briny sea. Invigorating. But how does this make me a better meditator? Wow, that sounds like quite a... What is meditation anyway? You know, meditation is expanding the capacity of the mind, making our mental experience vivid and compelling and becoming absorbed in it. That's all it is. What you describe is really that. Imagination and meditation, not exactly the same, but they can go together. So there's another question. Is this practice best done on the cushion, or can I do it while swimming or sitting in a waiting room? Good question, really good question. When you create conditions like this, when you set aside time, there's nothing else going on, that's an opportunity to really go deeper and become more immersed in meditation. So that's the point of what we can call formal practice. But there's also what we can call informal practice, taking that sort of thing into all sorts of different parts of our life. So when you're swimming, it might be best to just stay in the present moment with your senses. I don't know. um, because that's quite a compelling experience in itself. In a waiting room, yeah, why not? Why not? Um, these experiences of nature are an important part of who we are. Often these are our most important memories, but we can feel cut off from it. We can feel cut off from nature, and our culture encourages us. That is not just something that affects us personally, it's affecting the human race, it's affecting the planet. It's, that sense of not attending to our relationship with nature is really, in my view, the source of the climate crisis that we're experiencing and that we've been very aware of, at least I have, as COP26 has been meeting now in Glasgow in the UK where I live. So it's really important to spend time in nature, to slow to its pace, to use the senses to connect with both nature and also with ourselves. I mean, that was very much Wordsworth's idea, the poet Wordsworth's idea, that going deeply into a connection with nature is also a way of going deeply into ourselves and the most mysterious and deepest, most profound part of ourselves. And Wordsworth and his friend Coleridge, they foresaw the crisis that we're now experiencing 200 years ago. Wordsworth's greatest poem, or perhaps his greatest poem, is one of my favourite poems. It's called Lines Composed Above Tintern Abbey. I mentioned it earlier, or just Tintern Abbey for short. And I'm going to read you some lines. I'm going to share some lines from the heart of the poem. And I really encourage you to look up the whole thing. It's not too long. So it goes like this. For I have learned to look on nature, not as in the hour of thoughtless youth, but hearing oftentimes the still, sad music of humanity, nor harsh, nor grating, though of ample power to chasten and subdue. And I have felt a presence that disturbs me with the joy of elevated thoughts, a sense sublime of something far more deeply interfused, whose dwelling is the light of setting suns and the round ocean and the living air and the blue sky and in the mind of man, a motion and a spirit that impels all thinking things, all objects of all thought, and rolls through all things. So thank you for sharing this time. Please continue to explore your meditation practice with us. Check out our daily live meditations at round.glass or on our app. Have a great day and be open to nature.